I sometimes sit out there and people talk about the council, and I say, which one? And then I also get the experience, and people say, oh, you're from Waimakariri, and oh, you're getting a lot of growth out there. And my response to that is, oh, yeah. And because to me, growth is something that Waimakariri district has been undergoing for 40 or 50 years. And what's happened in the last few years has been 10 years growth in 3 years, but it would have happened anyway. And so that's the space we're in with regard to growth. Has been challenging. But for me personally and for our council, earthquake recovery, direct earthquake recovery has been the focus of our time over the last 4.5 years. And that's been in particular areas. Residential red zones, we lost around about 1,000, or just over 1,000 properties in Kāpoi, Pines and Kairaki. Arguably a greater proportion of the Waimakariri housing stock in Christchurch lost to red zoning. And of course, we've had issues over earthquake-prone buildings, as Rob has said. And if you go into Rangiora, you'll see things happening. But it was another wasteland for a while there, and none of those buildings fell down in the earthquakes, and nobody died in Waimakariri district. I've been asked to talk about engaging citizens, and of course I will do that through that earthquake lens. And when you're dealing with something like the earthquake, you in some ways engaging your community is easier because there's a huge investment and a huge feeling amongst the population that they want to control their own destiny. And for the point of view of a council, and I wasn't mayor at the time of the September quake, I became mayor about a month later, you have people who are willing to talk, who want to talk, and who need to talk. So in many ways, engaging the citizenry and having the community alongside you is easier in that kind of situation. You have to be aware of what is actually happening in your community, what people are saying. You have to have people out there on the ground. You have to have the means for people to communicate with you. And what I remember of those early years and during the response phase and shortly after it is that, in particular in the Kāpoi area, we had meetings for Africa. The early ones called by Clayton Cosgrove, the local MP at the time, and council came in fairly soon after that. But we always went to Clayton's meetings, and that was a very valuable time to get the information about what people were feeling, where they were at in their own personal lives, and how we as a council responded. So when you engage in the community, you have to be, first of all, as I said, be very aware of what's happening in people's minds and in their own lives. You have to decide what you want to engage on, and I'll give you some examples of that in more recent times. We've been cutting a few ribbons in Waimakariri district lately, and if I think about the several projects that have gone on and are now completed, some of them we involved the community in, and some we just didn't do it. And I'll give you an example. A new library, service centre and museum has just been finished in Kāpoi. The museum's not yet opened, that's a couple of months away yet. We didn't engage the community, say, do you want a library? We just said, yeah, they want a library, we'll build another one. And so we just went ahead and did it because there was already one there. And we got a little bit of comment about the architecture. I think it's fantastic, but you go past that. Second one, Rangiora Town Hall was shut in 2012 because it's earthquake prone. We already had a plan for the Rangiora Town Hall in the long-term plan prior to the earthquake. It was due for, it's just been opened or reopened. It's not that, it's earlier than it was going to be because of that closure. It was controversial at the time. We had our new long-term plan after the earthquake. We just kept the Rangiora Town Hall in there, and we went ahead and did it. We didn't go back to the population and say, do you want an expanded town hall? We just needed to do it, and we did it. Oxford, however, is another situation. Oxford Town Hall was closed at the same time as the Rangiora one. We didn't expect to have to do that. And some people in the Oxford community were saying, well, maybe you should need another building rather than just do up this old one. Well, it became pretty clear that building a new building was far more expensive than doing up the old one, and we had to do some demolition around it and build some new stuff. But we did actually get into the Oxford community and say, what do you want here? What do we need? What do the various community groups need in terms of that town hall? So we went through an engagement process, and there was plenty of comment coming out of the community, and we didn't have to start that either. It was happening in the community anyway, and we just simply jumped in on it. We needed to do it anyway. It's you need to, when you're engaging the population, you need to decide what you're actually doing it for. Are you just providing information? Because sometimes you have to do that. Do you want an indication of numbers and enthusiasm, or you just simply want ideas? And reference has already been made by Nikki earlier on about the Share the Idea program here in Christchurch, and we've done a similar thing quite recently with the residential red zones alongside Sarah. It's an engagement process sometimes can be very hard to get actual idea of numbers, but you can get some really good ideas out of it. It's sometimes you have to be aware that some people care about some things and other people don't care about those things, and you have to decide who you're going to talk to and who you're going to target. And some people are affected by some things and some people are not. So you have to be aware of that. If there's controversy, you have to deal with it, and be aware of what's going on social media on controversial issues. That can be really difficult. Because social media, while we think about things that are going viral, and if you really want to have some amusement, look at hashtag MCG so big for you if you want entertainment for a few minutes about the supposed size of the MCG. You need to be aware though that a lot of social media just simply works in circles, and a lot of stuff can be going on, and you're not going to be aware of it. So what are the barriers? And there's a whole lot of ways you can engage with the community, but an important thing is to keep the people involved. There are quite a few barriers, and there are a lot of people who are tired of being consulted and being engaged with at the moment. But all the time you need to be aware of it. So why do we do it? Why do councils need to be doing it? First of all, it's good for your community. It's actually about community well-being, how people feel about their community. They feel that they are part of it. You have to acknowledge that people like the politicians and the business people and so on don't have a monopoly on wisdom. It really helps to get that information and those ideas from people. It also exposes one part of the community to other parts of the community's views as well, and that's really important, that their views are not the only ones. And of course, from a political point of view, it's personally rewarding. So in the end, a council can only do what its community wants. We're only one part of the community, and it's really important that we are seen and to walk together with the people that we serve. Yeah.